I can say to you, hey, I came up with this idea and I think it's going to be great and everyone's going to buy it. And if you go, wow, that's awesome, so cool, that doesn't really help me. But if you go, oh, that's
my voice. Did you
that's-
just?
Yeah,
That's what
that's
I do.
you, man.
Okay.
This is you, man. You're super excited.
I just went through puberty again, I guess.
You're
Reverse
like
puberty.
Cheech and Chong, Cheech or Chong. Pick one, whichever one you want to be. Welcome to another episode of No Followers Podcast. I'm T, this is Bob, and today we're talking about team dynamics, specifically something that it's my specialty, which is how to use devil's advocate. And this kind of plays off of what we've talked about before, which is healthy conflict and healthy confrontation. But I love me some devil's advocate.
And we recommend everybody who has a team to, if you have to, direct one person to be the devil's advocate, to do the disprove research.
Yeah.
With no codes.
Whatever your research entails, just Google stuff, I guess.
Just Google stuff. But why do we use that? Because we use that here. Half our episodes are us, regardless of what we believe, playing devil's advocate to try to get a more flushed out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's just it. For me, it's two things. One is it's better to ask those questions in a pre-emptive way so that you can find answers to them when someone asks you that question in a pitch, in a sales meeting, in an investor pitch, whatever it may be. But the other thing is, in a manufacturing sense, iron out those details now so that it's not expensive later.
Yep.
If you say to me, hey, let's make it this way, it'll be fine. And I say, well, what if it's not fine? What if this happens? What if that happens? We can, even if it's a minute chance, we can at least say we accounted for it. You know what I mean? Which goes a long way in saying we considered that, and this is why we determined it's a non-issue.
And why we always use it is because it stops the one nemesis for bad business, bad product development, which is groupthink.
Yeah.
If you don't have somebody there that's dedicated to pushing against the group, because we all know you come together, somebody with the strongest personality usually takes over if the rest of the team isn't prepared. So knowing that someone's going to come prepared to dispute everything that's said, and at times it gets annoying, right? It gets it wears on you, but it gets you to the better point. It makes sure that your line of sight to the goal is clearer.
Yeah.
Because it's not full of crap that we didn't kind of adjust for.
Yeah, and we're kind of stating the obvious, but it gives you a more well-rounded approach to whatever you're developing. But the other thing is it kind of thickens your skin a little bit in a safe environment, right? Like I can say to you, hey, I came up with this idea and I think it's going to be great and everyone's going to buy it. And if you go, wow, that's awesome, so cool, that doesn't really help me. But if you go, oh, that's
my voice. Did you just?
Yeah.
That's what
that's
I do.
You, man.
Okay.
This is you, man. You're super excited.
I just went through puberty again, I guess. Reverse
You're like
puberty.
Cheech and Chong, Cheech or Chong. Pick one, whichever one you want to be. You want to be short, you want to be tall. But again, because now this is my bias based on my experience, but you're going to deal with people that are harsh. You're going to deal with people that do ask questions but are well-intentioned, and people that ask questions and have no interest in your response. They just want to shout into the void and make themselves feel better. And you got to be prepared for that. And a good way to do that is to basically practice and flesh out your idea in a safe space, not a safe space, in a healthy and constructive environment.
Yeah, and you weaved a few really key points in there. It makes people be prepared, and it holds everybody accountable because you're coming into a meeting where everything you say is not just nod and agree. And we've all been in meetings like everybody's just nodding because that's the easy thing to do. So it kind of also brings out what I think is the best in all of our team. And we have a lot of disputes among all of us, people on camera, off camera. And their disputes grounded in a lot of things that we always talk about, respect, love, and all that stuff. But we also know that we're not coming and just winging it.
Yeah.
And then that's the thing that I can't stand in meetings, when people are just off the cuff saying things that has no basis in reality, going back to an earlier conversation, because I know, like the I know thing again. So
Yeah. I've been, especially recently, like I've been doing this thing where I just ask someone to go one step further, you know? So you go, you make the statement, and then you say, the normal response is to say why. And then they give you an answer. And then you go, why? Give me that second step. Because if you can't answer that, then you're not really rooted in information, and I'm going to discount your opinion.
But it's also a good gauge of where, for training purposes for staff, is, okay, that's how far they took their research. They might not know the next step.
Right.
So that's a great way of getting everybody on the same page again, right?
Yeah.
And a model that works for everybody. So
Yeah. And knowing, you know, especially when your product is your baby and it's your idea, a lot of time, and this is something that hits me for sure. It's so obvious to you, and you're so used to it, and you've been working on it for so long, and you know everything about it. And so you may speak in a way that it just talks circles around other people, or no one understands what you're saying, or it's not obvious to people. And that's something we run into with the bike frame all the time. People look at it and they see the shock absorbers on the top and they go, yeah, I've seen this before. And then they move on. They don't know that there's shock absorbers on the bottom, and that how the whole system works and all that stuff. So that leads a whole other conversation. So that informs that pushback of, I didn't realize that's how it works, informs how we set up displays, how we set up social media, how we explain things. So you use that devil's advocate to inform not just your design, but your marketing, your sales, your operating procedures. It's all informed by, in my opinion, pushback and saying, okay, if this weren't my baby, how would someone look at this?
it also gets people in the habit of asking questions and being comfortable with asking questions, because we know that a lot of times, and you can go to almost any environment, people won't ask questions because they feel that it makes them look stupid or not as smart as everybody else in the room. And the devil's advocacy thing almost makes you keep asking questions. And once you get into the habit of asking questions, it becomes second nature.
Yeah. And when you run out of an answer, you know, okay, that's what I should be researching.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I'm trying to think of a good example of like the second why, but nothing's coming to mind.
I'm trying to think of a recent product we looked at. Well, the one we're going to do tomorrow.
Yeah.
We went 3 steps in with the inventor and they couldn't answer the second one because it involved not just the design, but a whole new way of a business working. So it's the product's one thing, but then how to get the product to work in that environment. And they had never thought of that.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying. You know, it forces you to go and look and say, what's some real data that we can act upon and that we can use that data to inform how we make these decisions. You know, and again, I feel like what we're saying is very obvious, but when you get in
from experience, we know that people don't ask questions.
Yeah.
They don't.
I was just going to say, you get into a team setting, especially when you have a team that believes in your product, you stop playing devil's advocate.
Right.
Especially when you get everyone up to speed and everyone knows this is how it works and this is what we're working on, this is where we're going and blah, blah, blah. You can lose track of the why and the prove it mentality. You know what I mean?
Who's one of your favorite entrepreneurs? They all went off the cliff because it was all fake.
Who's that? What? Should I know who you're talking about?
You should. Favorite entrepreneur?
They all went off the cliff.
Yeah, the whole company was based on lies and they all just went along and believed the lead woman. We just talked about it.
We did?
She's in jail now.
She's in jail now.
This is like a research.
My brain is failing.
It's not Musk. Just going to help you out.
I know that he's still male. Or so he says. The lead woman. Oh, Theranos? Is that what you're talking about? No. Were you trying not to say the name for legal purposes?
No, not.
Yeah.
They can come get our empire.
Yeah.
We're not saying anything wrong, right? That whole organization was built on a lie that they just kept perpetuating.
No one, and this is something we do see, which is with enough money, anything is possible. And that's just something I disagree with completely.
Yep.
If you don't have the fundamentals of the why, the how, all that kind of stuff, because the other thing it makes you do is it makes you listen to the market. You know what I mean? Like you might have a great idea and a great product and it does all these things and you say, this is our first mover market, this is our beachhead, this is our alpha product, whatever you want to say. And if no one says, hey, I know you really want to develop this thing for kitchens, right? Real product. But we think it's better for closets. And then their job is to say why. And then we give them data as to why we think that. And we say, we really think that doing installs is better for reason A, B, and C. And then they say, okay, well, I don't understand this. And then you push back and you get to it. And then at the end, you either get to, we agree, this is the best move, or we're going with closets or we're going with kitchens. But that's all based on someone playing devil's advocate. Because then it leads you down a research path of, okay, this thing was developed for kitchens, but what if that's the wrong market?
For many reasons.
Yeah.
A lot of all the variables that went into it, right?
If you're open to that.
Buying cycles and so forth.
If you're open to that, it leads you into the market you should be addressing.
It also, because we all are represented, and we always forget this, we are all representative of the marketplace because we're all consumers.
Yeah.
You might not buy that product, but you have a buying, right? You have a buying process. We all do. We all are part of the market. So we all have a perspective doing the devil's advocacy. And sometimes in newer teams, we earmark somebody. And it's not always the smartest or the most vocal. It's somebody that needs to kind of find their place. And by giving them that role, they kind of can grow into it without the fear of pushback, right? Because you've been told your job is to destroy everything we're saying over here. That's your job. Do it. And sometimes that empowers people and it brings a new perspective that we would have never have thought of from their own experiences. And
this is kind of tangential to something we're talking about off camera, but qualified people will generally be more than okay to explain something to you. In my experience, people who are either unqualified or insecure will not want to explain it, right? So if I say to my engineers, all right, this is what I want to do, and they say, that's not going to work. And I say, why? And they say, because I'm an engineer and I just told you that. Well, we're done here. I mean, now if you say to me, because of this, and then I say, well, what about that? And now we have a conversation going and we're trying to get to a creative solution. That's a good process. But again, it has to come from someone. You have to be okay with pushback, which is important. But you also have to be okay with where that pushback takes you. And it could take you somewhere new, or it could just reinforce where you already are. But someone on your team should be responsible for pushback.
Step one, great team dynamic.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
And that's that, Bob.
That's our ending. You're welcome.
Like, follow, subscribe.
No Follows Podcast.
We'll see you next time.